Welcome to our video tutorial where we continue from the previous one in illustrating how to manipulate text strings with VBA code using string functions of both worksheet and VBA. You are currently viewing sheet 1. Cell A2 has a text string which has irregular blank spaces in between words. We are attempting to delete extra blank spaces beyond a certain number. This is in cell A3, and another option is to have uniform blank spaces between words, which you are seeing in cell A4. We'll go to the Visual Basic editor and see how the macros work for doing this. These macros are located in the standard code modules, as you see, module 1 to 5. Currently we are viewing module 2, in which we have our macros. The first option is to delete excess consecutive blank spaces within a string, which are in excess of a specified number. Please note that this will not ensure uniform number of blank spaces, but it only deletes excess blanks. So if there are 5 blanks between two words and we have a specified number as 2, then the excess blank spaces, the 3 excess spaces, will be deleted. And if in between two words there is just 1 blank space, then that will remain as it is. So this is one option. The second option is we can ensure uniform number of consecutive blank spaces within a string. So if you have 5 spaces or 1 space, that will be made 2 blank spaces by using this code. And this code also ensures blank spaces, uniform number of blank spaces, where lead or trailing spaces are also present. Now let's run through the first macro, where we delete the excessive consecutive blank spaces between two words. We have a sub here, and this calls the function delete blank spaces and passes arguments to that function. We start by activating sheet 1, followed by the dim statements. The cell A2 value contains the text string which is to be manipulated. We assign this value to the string variable strText. We specify the maximum number of consecutive blank spaces which we want to retain between two words. So we assign this number 2 to the integer variable I spaces. So all blank spaces excess of 2 will be deleted. Now we come to the string which is in cell A2. It contains 4 blank spaces after the word specify. There are 4 blank spaces after the word spaces and 3 blank spaces after the word text. All of these will be reduced to 2 blank spaces. So here you see the string. There are 4 blank spaces after specify, 4 spaces after the word spaces, and 3 blank spaces after the word text. And all these will get reduced to 2. And in other cases where the blank spaces are, in any case there is just the single blank space here before the word specify, that will remain as it is. So now let's run through this code. This sub will call the function delete blank spaces and pass 2 arguments, one argument being the text string which is to be manipulated, and the second argument is the specified number of maximum blank spaces we need between the two words. This function will accept the 2 arguments from the calling sub and return the manipulated string as a string value which will be entered in cell A3. You can also use this macro for deleting all blank spaces within a string. If you assign the value 0 to I spaces, so all blank spaces will be deleted. Alternatively, you can also convert multiple spaces to a single space. You assign the value 1 to I spaces and you will have one blank space between each word and also before the first character. But if you use the trim function, the worksheet trim function, that ensures single blank spaces without any leading blanks. So this code will also have leading blanks. We start by the dim statements. We have the counter variable which determines the consecutive blank spaces between two words. We set the value of the counter to 0. And now we loop through each character in the text string. The length function returns the length of the string. So we start with the last character, come to the first by using step -1. Now if this character is blank, so if n character, single character 1 in the text string str is a blank space, we increment the counter value by 1. If the counter value remains less than or equal to the specified number, we use this code which determines the counter value to be less than or equal to I spaces. Then we go to the skip line here, which makes us go to the next character. And if the next character is again blank, the counter variable will increment by 1 and again evaluate if it is still less than or equal to the specified number. And the moment it exceeds, if the counter value exceeds the specified number, then we delete that blank space. The string will delete this space by using the replace function. The extra blank space is replaced with a 0 length string, which essentially deletes the extra blank space. And in the first evaluation, we were determining if the character is a blank space, and if the character is not a blank space, then in any case we restore the counter to 0 and evaluate the next character. So if the character is a blank space, then we do the evaluation here and delete the excess blank spaces. If the character is not a blank space, then we restore the counter to 0. And eventually the final string returned by the function here is entered in cell A3. Now we go to the next option where we ensure uniform number of consecutive blank spaces within a string. So even if we have 5 blanks or 1 blank, they will be equated, they will be updated to 2 blank spaces if we have the uniform number specified as 2. Here we activate sheet 1, we have the dim statements. Again we assign the cell A2 value to the string variable str text. We assign the uniform number which we specify to the integer variable I spaces. We call the function uniform blank spaces, pass the 2 arguments, the text string and the uniform number of blanks which we need to this function. This function will accept these 2 arguments from the calling sub and return a string value which is entered in cell A4, which is after ensuring uniform blank spaces. We start with the dim statements, again set the counter to 0. Counter determines the number of consecutive blank spaces. We evaluate each character in the text string, starting from the last to the first using step -1. Now here we have a possibility where the character is a blank space. So using the mid function we determine the nth character, single character within the expression to be a blank. Then we increment the counter by 1, and if the counter value is less than the specified number, the uniform number of spaces which we want, then we do three evaluations. If this is the first character, then we return a string with this first character of blank space, add a blank space, and join it with the right side, all the characters to the right of the first character returned by this. So this is basically adding a space after the first character, which is a blank space. So increasing it to the uniform number. Now if it is not the first character and there is a blank space preceding this, if the character preceding the blank space is not a blank space, so in this case we will need to add a blank space to ensure a uniform number, because the counter value is less than the specified number. So we use this code line where it returns all the characters to the left of this blank space. We add a blank space, and this returns all the characters to the right of blank space. So this ensures adding a blank space where the character preceding the blank space is not blank. And if finally we determine that the character preceding the blank space is also a blank space, then we go to the skip line, which loops us to the next character. So we evaluate the next character. So here, if it's the first character, then obviously we need to increase the blank space. If the blank space is not preceded by a blank space, then again we need to increase the blank space. If the blank space is also preceded by a blank space and our counter is still less than I spaces, then we loop and go to the next character to determine. And once the counter exceeds the specified number, uniform number of spaces which we need, then we delete the excess blank space by using the replace function. In the string, we delete the blank space, one blank space which we replace by a zero length string. So using the replace function essentially deletes the additional blank space. So this is how this code functions. And now if the character, final thing is, if the character is not a blank space, here we have considered all the possibilities where the character which we are evaluating is a blank space. Till here we have evaluated if the character is a blank space. So now if the character is not a blank space, obviously then we will go to the next character in the loop and evaluate, and we do nothing and we reset the counter to 0. So the function returns the final manipulated string which is entered in range A4 here. So this string now contains uniform number of blank spaces. The cell A3 contains a manipulated string in which excess blank spaces beyond a certain number are deleted. We hope you enjoyed watching the tutorial and you found it useful. Thank you.